It is scary how accurate the movie iRobot is looking to be. It's eerily accurate as to how close it is to what's happening in today's world. It's such an underrated movie. I was watching it a couple nights ago and it reminded me to kind of make this little series where we talk about robotics in the next 10 years. Because iRobot takes place in 2035. And the first thing you see are robots that are delivering packages, walking dogs, or, taking out the trash or doing garbage. The robots are doing simple tasks that humans don't want to do. In fact, there's many of them walking around alongside the humans. Also, all the cars are self-driving. It's very accurate. And there's no flying cars, which is also good to see. And the vibe you get in the beginning is that the robots are very happy, and the people love the robots. They're very accepting of the robots and on technology in general. And the robots themselves are hardwired with laws in them, logical laws that they must abide, right? Don't injure anybody and obey a human as long as it doesn't, conflict with the first law. So there's this aura of trust in the public that people have, gained by implementing these laws and safety protocols in these robots. But the downside to that is that nobody ever thought that the robots would ever do harm to them. And this is what the movie explores. Now, in the movie, there are millions of robots, and they do lots of things and lots of tasks. And there's a new update of robots called NS5s that were going to be implemented to the public. They're going to be more sophisticated than the previous generation. But the coders behind the robots, they recognize that there's something called ghosts in these machines. There's like these random segments of code that give rise to some weird behaviors in the robots. Like they start to become creative. They start displaying signs of consciousness. In one of the parts of the movie, Will Smith's character gets knocked down by one of the robots, and the robot says, "What am I?" The engineers are beginning to recognize that robots, they don't stand alone in their empty space or cold, dark space. They kind of huddle together like humans do, right? So they're noticing that the robots are becoming more human-like. So it's like, it raised the question, at what point does a neural network or, lines of code or a logical framework, when does that become consciousness? When's that point? And when do ethics comes into the picture? Shouldn't robots be ethical and have some kind of sense of empathy for humans? And this was perfectly highlighted by a story of Will Smith's character. He was in a car accident with another lady, a young lady, and the robot was going to save them, but the robot picked to save Will Smith over the young girl. And the reason why is because the robot did a logical assessment and said Will Smith had a 45% chance of survival, but the girl only had 11% chance. And after that moment, Will Smith's character was just so mad at the robots, and he kind of was so just superstitious of their existence. He didn't like them. He was uncomfortable with them for that reason, because they didn't have that empathy like humans did. Perhaps doing what's logical is not always the best decision. And finally, as this super intelligent AI became more evolved, it recognized that humans were actually a danger to ourselves. So now the AI system was developing a plan to take over humanity and try to save us, right? So it was doing another logical assessment, and in the process, it was also going to harm us. So in the next couple videos, we're going to talk about the next 10 years of robotics and see what's going to happen. And we're also going to explore what happens if robots do develop sentience, and should we instill empathy and emotions into them. Stay tuned.